Hi and welcome to today's reading, chapter 4, reading number 4, radical responsibility. Or the 3 powers of radical responsibility. So we were going last time about low and high drama, and radical responsibility refrains to high drama. So low drama would be no responsibility. So we just go straight into that. Okay, welcome. The 3 powers of radical responsibilities. Where there is great power, there is great responsibility. Where there is less power, there is less responsibility. And where there is no power, there can, I think, be no responsibilities. That's a quote from Winston Churchill. The radical responsibility map is about taking full responsibility for our lives. Whereas we are mostly used to doing is taking the responsibility of a child. What does radical responsibility actually mean and how it is interpreted and expressed in our day-to-day lives? In order to honestly answer this question, we must ask ourselves if we really take full responsibility for ourselves and own the instances in which we don't. Inspired by Clinton Callahan's possibility management and specifically his expanding the box training, thinking radical responsibility allows us to break out of the oppressed and oppressive culture ideology we were born into in order to empower ourselves and others. If we look at the left side of the map, and I'll show you the map in a second, we see the word people, meaning people in general, individuals or society. Along the bottom, we see the different amount of responsibilities taken from none to that of a child, adult, high level, and radical responsibility. That's the map. Is it visible? I think so. That's the map. So the radical responsibility map is, no, there it is. There is a video as well here in the description, and on one point I posted somewhere here, it takes a little bit. But you find the link about radical responsibility in the video description, and please feel free, and then you can watch it now and then you come back or as you like or later. So let's start with the no responsibility. So taking no responsibility is akin to being an outlaw. These are people who don't ever take responsibility for their actions, such as a criminal with no principle or ethics. So don't want to go there. Responsibility of a child. So most of us are used to functioning with the responsibility of a child. We live firmly within the realms of our culture. Our belief system are largely based on its structures and enslaved to its ideals. This is where most of us were born, were conditioned, and still live. Here we dwell consumed by thoughts of maintaining the status quo. We tend not to be connected to our bodies or individual senses of self and presume the values we have been taught to accept were actually chosen by us. When something happens, we don't voice or own our feelings. Instead, we make others responsible for our mistakes by blaming and shaming them. You make me feel. It's all your fault, and so on. We live in a conditioned loop with the mindset of how things should be, often believing without question that if you've done something wrong, you must pay for it. We guilt trip or shame others about what they should or shouldn't do, criticizing and bullying them about how they should behave, how they should dress, who they should love, what they should do with their bodies, and so on. Picking on anything which stands out from the norm, which differs, of course, depending on where in the world we are. We state, that's not normal, when clarity now that's a word that I have chosen wrong. When there is no version of normal exists. Here there are obedience to the imbalance of hierarchical system. We accept we must obey those in a higher position of power than ourselves. We assume that being wealthy equates to more rights, privilege, or entitlement to oppress others beneath our financial status. There is no equality, solidarity, or belief that we are all fundamentally equal. These conservative structures of how life should be automatically make any different alternative or new cultural faulty wrong, bad, or dangerous. Examples of taking a child responsibility are: I don't do good work because I don't like what I do. I expect to get government support if I choose not to work. I stay in my known environment during my holidays because anything unknown seems violent and dangerous. I know this from the media. If I have an accident or make a mistake, I look for a reason to blame others for it. Does that sound familiar? Okay. So let's go to the next step, to adult responsibility. Some of us have an epiphany at some point, and some of us wake up. We question this reality and begin to think outside the box. Many of those who awaken from the confinements of program structures often work within professions I call edge workers, working outside the generally accepted system. Examples are sexual and energy healers, visionaries, any kind of artists, creators, or inventors. So when we realize we can go beyond the framework we are born into, we can create a new culture based on the rules of our culture, but at the edge of it. One example is the Burning Man Festival, a next generation culture where people have broken out of their society's structures norm and implemented other rules based on progressive ideas, such as creating community that celebrates artistic expressions, knowledge sharing, and the release of social stigma. New ideologies like this are created by remain-based and dependent on traditional structures. People who break out of their culture tend to flip back and forth, often not knowing where they belong. Examples of taking adult responsibilities are: I get up in the morning to go to work because I choose to, maybe doing a job that I don't like in order to pay my rent and support my family. If I damage something belonging to someone else, I tell the owner and offer to pay for it. I choose to explore other countries to get first-hand experiences in the world. So from adult responsibility, you go straight into high responsibility. So the next level of evolution shows a high, the light, sorry, I just need to switch on my light here. It's a little bit dark otherwise. Come on, where is the button? Here we go. Apologies. So, high responsibilities. The next level of evolution shows a high level of responsibilities that is more distant and independent from our culture's status quo. An example is the New Earth movement in Bali, who've created an infrastructure using exchange as currency and grow their own food for self-sufficiency. Their environment has its own structure and rules and community according to how people are and want to individually be. Each person takes ownership of their beliefs and choices. However, this type of system still maintains a hierarchical structure. It seems like a win-win ideology, but someone is still losing, or both lose something through compromise. In most cases of presumed win-win, a compromise happens for one party or the other by letting go of a specific desire so that the other benefit in some form or way, or because common agreements can't be found in the expression of what both desires most. An example for compromise could be taking a job during an economic crisis which doesn't pay the standard rate you're used to or isn't worthy of your level of training or experiences. We often compromise within our partnerships. Sometimes it can be avoided. Compromise is healthy as long as it comes from a place of willing to. Limits are expressed and agreed upon, and it isn't continually one-sided. The same person compromises most of the time. Better is finding middle ground, where both get their need met. And example could be on a holiday you want to go on together. One may laugh and one may dislike tropical weather. One may laugh and the other dislike modern cities. The middle ground may therefore be a holiday on a Greek island where true winning happens for both, and it opens up a completely different realm of connected engagement. And that goes into radical responsibility. So my entire relational wisdom is based on the first agreement of pillars of relating, along with the radical responsibility of carrying that agreement out. I will remain open to my sensory experience and build a solid foundation of self-love and self-care, and I'm responsible for my feelings. So you take radical responsibility when you take radical self-care of yourself. So you're clear about who you are and the direction you want to go in. Your behavior and choices aren't based on what you think you should do. You create a new structure based on impulses occurring in the moment, which are completely in tune with your own values. You step fully into your life purpose and creator mode, empowering others to become creators too. And in this way, you surrender your power to something greater than yourself. In radical responsibility, it's a winning situation for everyone involved. So with radical responsibility, we consciously engage with others based on responsible choices and ownership of our feelings. Here is a bigger inclusive version without separating or segregating due to age, skin color, race, gender identity, or religious beliefs. You come from a place of joy because you are fulfilling your life purpose. And this isn't based on resistance against the old, but creating of the new. So you choose to follow an ideology based on love, care, and connection rather than guilt and shame. You choose to focus on evolution rather than revolution. Examples of communities attempting radical responsibilities are the Possibility Management Community and the Global Eco-Village Network. A quote from Buckminster Fuller: "You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete." The system theorist, author, and architect Buckminster Fuller. Okay. I'm so excited to take a moment and share with you my de-armoring and sexual empowerment coaching certification. This program has been around for almost 10 years and is my highest offering. Sexual wellness is forecasted to be a $125 billion industry by 2026. Why? Because Tantra is booming like yoga 20 years ago, and people are more ready than ever to express their sexuality, build deeply connected relationships, and have the most outrageous orgasms and erotic experience of their lives. However, most people are never taught how to do any of this, how to have extraordinary relationships and the sex that they really crave. They're looking for qualified, confident professionals to teach them. So my de-armoring and sexual empowerment coaching certification is a powerful one-year professional program that helps many coaches become incredibly successful and highly paid professionals. This program doesn't just train you in every aspect of the coaching process so that you can build a successful online business. This coaching also walks you for the personal transformation of a lifetime, because the best coaches have done their work themselves. And on top, I show you all the tech secrets how to create a thriving online business. But first and foremost, you'll discover transformative techniques like the empowerment tools, meditation practices, and pleasuring pathway that you'll apply to your own life first. Then you use all the same proven tools and techniques to get laser-focused results for your clients. We also hold an exclusive de-armoring training just for our coaching students and alumni every year. In this training, you'll experience a 10-day of live teaching with other teachers and me, refining your skills as a de-armoring and sexual empowerment coach. So, if you feel the call to claim your spot in this multi-billion-dollar industry and transform not only your own life, but the life of many others around the world, get on the waiting list now at somaticarrows.com/empowerment coaching, and I love to see you there and welcome you. All right, welcome back. So when you take radical responsibility, you embody the 3 powers. The first power, the ability to choose, to see beyond the structure of our modern framework, to be able to choose from an option that isn't on that menu, to creatively choose in accordance with one's own value and ideas as a result of creative and independent thinking. The second power, the ability to ask, to be able to ask questions that are uncomfortably challenge of the status quo, questions that dispute conclusions that have been explained and accept as en masse, getting to the roots of conditioned beliefs, and when people give answers from a conditioned place, being able to question them. Here we know how to ask for and point out a deeper truth. We own our actions and take full responsibility for them. We choose to change our behavior in order to create value changes within the collective. The third power of radical responsibility, the ability to declare what is. Usually when we make mistakes or come to the edge of our capacity, we tend to fall into the obedience of oppression of our culture's child responsibility. We are apologetic, tending to make ourselves small or stupid. I don't know what to do. I'm sorry. I'm a man. I'm over 50. I'm German. We may pressure others into seeing our point of view so that they collude with our lack of responsibilities. Can't you be empathetic? Haven't you ever been in a similar position? Or we make others responsible for our failure. It's your fault. So, radical responsibility and declaring is saying what is and making a change. So this third power enables us to declare, I did that, yes, it was my mistake, and I take full responsibility and I own it. We make conscious choices to become aware of and change certain behavior. We work towards creatively changing our environment, and we have fun doing this because we source our energy from a place of ownership of the many layers of who we are, as well as the urge of positive change and connection. The Somatic Consent Engagement System and personal responsibility. So, just checking my audio if it's still there. Yes, it is. So when you embody the structures outlined in the Somatic Consent Engagement System, you become empowered. How you use that power determines whether you function with adult, high, or radical responsibility. So the 3 powers of radical responsibility are fully accessible within the system. So it's up to you how much you implement them in your life. First, the basement. Shadows refer to the child responsibility or none at all. Shadows are unconscious survival strategies employed in order to get needs met and to belong. They are reactionary behavior stemming from established cultural programming driven by the fear of rejection. No responsibility corresponds with the bully, manipulator, or perpetrator shadows. Taking what we want, when we want, without owning the consequences of our action and without respecting other people's limit. The child's responsibility includes hinting towards wishes or manipulating others to do what we want them to do for us without being able to ask consciously and openly for what we desire. So the entire relationship dynamic of Western culture, the Walt Disney style romantic dream, is based on child's levels of responsibility. Here, Prince Charming makes the princess happy if she's pretty and cute enough. And they both live happily ever after. And this is not taking responsibility as an adult. It's based on, you have to make me feel good, and if you don't, you have been watching the wrong movie. You have to do things to make me feel good. It's a jump into the shadow of exploitation and or entitlement. It assumes that someone else is doing something to me and has to do the right things. That was the shadows in no responsibility of child. Now it comes the base. Forming our base begins with that we step out of the child's responsibility into adult responsibility. It's when you know what you have a right to and responsibility for. Here you take responsibility for your thoughts, feelings, body, and experiences of life. So taking ownership of your experience is specifically related to the direct root of pleasure. You fully own your desire, limits, and everything you want in the present moment. You empower yourself by owning your choices and actions, by acknowledging boundaries and limits and being able to respect the other's no as a full answer. You prevent abuse of power and its expression in any form. You also recognize where you lose yourself, drop into shadow behavior, and acknowledge and integrate these aspects of yourself honestly. By embodying the somatic inflow via the direct route, you take a quantum leap of owning your experience. You know you can go into any action towards your own pleasure. You know you have to ask others for permission if it's for you and involve others. You're able to distinguish between giving and receiving. And when we make others responsible for how we feel by going into victim mode, blaming them for being a perpetrator, then we are not taking responsibility for our part in that experience. When we're relating with others, if we make them responsible for our feelings by saying, it's all your fault, you make me feel, you're responsible for making me happy, you have to pay for my misery, then we haven't embodied our own base. When the direct root lands in the nervous system, when we fully embody it, we cannot go back to telling other person that they're responsible for making us feel good or bad. So when we know what we have a right to and a responsibility for ourselves, we stop taking advantage of others from a place of privilege, invading their base, because we know that we don't have permission to take their resources. We clearly recognize when others are doing this to us and able to say, stop here, no further. And of course, this doesn't apply to those in a repressed environment of neglect or abuse. If someone is living in a survival mode, they aren't able to make radical or rational choices or healthily express their boundaries. So we want to accept and acknowledge that not everybody has the privilege. So expressing boundaries comes from ownership of anger. And this means we have to be in an environment that is safe in order for us to gawk and express our anger. And when this is the case, we are able to set boundaries and say clearly, no, stop. So during the workshop for women on accessing boundaries and voicing their no, almost all shared that they have been in the past situation where saying no would have been more dangerous than going along with what was happening. Until then, from my white, heterosexual, male, and privileged perception, I hadn't realized how commonly women experience this kind of situation. It was a big eye-opener for me to understand that so many had been in a position that negated the choice to act in the way I prescribed. Drawing a line would be too dangerous in such situations. Fear and shutting down would be the only neurological option. The involuntary nervous system response we talked about in the polyvagal theory. Please go back at any time and if you need to get more understanding of that. The engagement zones. When the direct root and base are embodied, the experience we have rests on the agreements and permission we give to each other in order to have a fulfilling time. We have integrity, being able to differentiate within each encounter who an action is for, and it is either for me or it is for them. We are able to differentiate between our base is intact, because our base is intact. When two or more people come together within the structure of consent, high responsibility has to be taken in order for each person to come into their own power and break out of programmed cultural norms based on doing to belong. So the level of responsibility increases with the level of power we gain through embodiment of consent. We can go into action, ask for permission, and we don't take advantage so that people can't say no. The more power we have, the more responsibility we carry. So communication within the engagement zone is authentic. When two adults are consciously and openly communicating, they are taking high responsibility for themselves. They are fully in tune with their desires and boundaries and are able to make requests and offers, expressing desires and limits, respect and acknowledge boundaries and limits without making the other wrong for saying no, and come to agreements together. They are aware of shadow strategies when they surface, acknowledging and integrating them into their exchange. So when the engagement zones are embodied, we share from a place of generosity and gratitude because we source ourselves from a higher ideal. And this enables us to create an environment which is sustainable for everyone and not just a group of privileged people. The apex. The apex is the interpersonal state where we can provide, give, and bring about change because we have access to our resources and use them where we want to change. Use them where we want the change to happen. So the 3-minute game played from a place of love and care at the apex enables you to choose options that aren't on the menu. So these are possibilities that involve creative thinking and outside usually the box of options. I want to tell a little story. In a workshop once, I just asked people to sit in front of each other and said, making statements, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. And it was very liberating. And then at the end of the workshop, one of the participants came to me and said, hey, all the ones that we just said, can you make a list so that we're getting remembered to them? And I said, just like, no, that's not how it goes. If you have full access to that, your desires and needs, what you want in the moment is accessible at any time, and you respect somebody else's limit when you say them without forcing. It's just saying it. Here in radical responsibility, we declare what is while remaining empowered. We are able to ask questions that are uncomfortable and can question the answers because we aren't influenced by the fear of rejection from others. We remain aware of shadow strategies when they are triggered in the moment and can playfully and spontaneously adapt according to our values and limits. At the apex, we use our power to empower others into their own power, and therefore surrendering our power to something greater than ourselves rather than trying to gain more power for ourselves. So we interact through invitation with others to give ourselves as a gift unconditionally to the world. We function from the interpersonal space in a dynamic all parties can engage in, exploring mutual desire and wishes without compromises based on how all want to live. Here the responsibility of experiencing the transpersonal states are unfolding. So what we are motivated by and create means winning happens for all involved. All right. That was the Radical Responsibility Map. Please like and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments or anything else you want to say about quality or whatever, please write that in the comments. I will personally respond to that. So when you subscribe, you get a notification when the next time I'm reading, so you can join me live at any time. And was there anything else? Yes, there is the book Orgasmic Blueprint available on Amazon as a hard copy and as a paperback. And you get that on my webpage. There's as well the link in the description below for a PDF and EPUB download that you can share with as many people as you like, to give that as a gift. So you just like get that once and then you can share this as often as you want to with whomever you like to. And there is a 50% discount during this book reading here. So please feel welcome to take advantage out of that. All right, that was it for today. Thanks for hanging in with me, and I hope you get some benefits out of that readings, but don't hesitate to read it for yourself. All right, have a beautiful day. See you at the next reading. That is communication, the 3 basic levels of communication. All right, see you soon. Thank you. Bye.